I wanted to ask you, I don't actually remember, but did I end up going back and talking about that one asshole on Twitter that was bitching about the Scanlations?
Um, you didn't tell me anything about somebody complaining about Scanlations. I don't.
Because
Oh no,
I
wait,
remember,
yeah, that was separate from that other person you were telling me about.
yeah, I tried to get off on and actually get back to the topic several times, and I realized the other day I don't remember if I had actually gotten back to that or not, because I kept trying to get to the topic and we kept getting off on a tangent. I was on Twitter a few days ago, and like there was this. I don't. I think it was a woman. It doesn't really matter. I just for ease of reference to
It's a
him or
person.
her. Yeah, this person. But I think it was a woman. So yeah, it was. It was. So it'll be easier for me to say she or her or whatever. Anyway, I was on Twitter a few days ago, and there was this woman talking about how she wished that this one series of manga had been brought over, and she was complaining about why it hadn't. And one of her followers um, tweeted and was like, "Well, hasn't it been brought over in anything?" And she was like, "No, it's not been translated anyway." And they said, "Well, what about Scanlations?" And so she makes this very grandiose sort of "aren't I great" statement, like, "I believe artists should be paid for their work. I don't support Scanlations." Yeah, and like, I can see that. Like, I can see
Yeah,
why you would make that kind of statement, because as a comic creator, as an artist, I also think that artists should be paid for their
yeah.
work. However, if you have work that is in another language that nobody fucking knows about and nobody fucking cares about because they don't know about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, in some cases, like Nanaboro, I'm not even saying her name right. Like, I wouldn't know anything about her if it hadn't been for Scanlations.
Yeah, I mean, one of the greats of manga, like a living legend of Japanese comics, Takemiya Keiko, she teaches now. She's a teacher now at university level. And she was saying on the topic of Scanlations, like, she has no problem with it. She has students from all over the world. And do you know how they are familiar with her work? It's fucking Scanlations.
Yeah,
She was like, people love my work so much that they go and they translate it into their own language. And she
yeah,
said that
to share it with other people.
yeah, she said she was touched by that. And, you know, it's also led to actual sales in other
Yeah,
countries, actual companies saying, okay, this is viable. This has an audience. We
yeah.
can go in and do a better translation and present it better in a print copy or, you know,
Yeah.
a very high quality digital copy.
Well, that was
Because,
something like Danganronpa, except that was a game. You know,
yeah.
there was that fan translation for the first game. Holy shit, they did a really good job. In fact, I'll say they did a much better job than the later translation that the actual, team did when they, put it on, out for American audiences.
Yeah, and I mean that happens sometimes. I mean, look at RPG Maker, for example.
Yeah.
That is probably the poster child for fan translations that were
Exactly.
unofficial.
Yeah.
But it made it clear to the company that, hey, this is a viable market, because, you know, and it's getting better and better these days, but for a very long time, and even still now, there are companies that don't view any market outside of Japan as viable. They don't care about it.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care if they're selling or not selling. They don't see the ability to recoup lost costs and lost profits if they release something and it's not a success. Some of them don't see, hey, we could just go somewhere outside of Japan and capitalize on all these people that love Japanese stuff. You know, there are some companies that are savvy and they're getting wiser to that. They're getting wiser to the fact that they can go outside of Japan and get back every bit of that, or they can make a series a huge hit when it was a total flop in Japan.
Yeah. So, I was trying to think, I was trying to think of an anime that I really liked, but I didn't know it kind of didn't, accomplish much inside Japan. It wasn't Trigun, was it? Because Trigun, from what I remember, is pretty big.
I don't remember. I don't think Trigun was that big in Japan, but I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I was trying to remember because I was watching somebody, it was probably Jo, do a, like compare and contrast the American version and all that with the Japanese one, and I seem
Oh.
to remember her saying that the anime did not do all that great in Japan, but the Americans loved it.
Yeah, I want to say that the comic was very, very strong, very successful. It only had a problem with, it changed publishers
Uh,
at one point. But, and now I think they're going to do something. I think they're going to do a film now, finally. But
Ooh,
yeah,
I'm
I
interested
think,
in that.
I don't remember. I'm going to have to look it up. But yeah, I
Okay.
mean, something like that. But there are a lot, like Metroid, for example. The
Mhm.
series Metroid was not a success in Japan.
Mhm.
It was a huge success elsewhere, but the series Metroid has never had, up until one of the games that I think I want to say the Metroid Prime series or something. One of the series that they released finally got
Yeah. Well,
more
I know
attention in
Metroid
Japan.
Prime is really big, and I think they revealed something about that at E3. But anyway.
But yeah, I mean, anyway, this person ended up just being a real chuckle fuck, just being total asshole. And I was like pointing out, that this is not always a bad thing. I think in some ways it has been this whole
Well,
exposure is a,
yeah. Well, a lot of it is old style thinking that hasn't
yeah.
really come to grasp or accept how things have changed.
Yeah, and they really have changed, especially with the internet. And I think some of it is also the jumping on the bandwagon of the exposure is a bad word thing, which I understand that. And I agree, if someone's asking you to do a lot of work for just exposure, that's not a good thing. And
Yeah.
it's your choice if you want to do it or not. You should not feel like, exposure is equitable to actually being paid for your time and effort. But like, in some cases, this sort of exposure can be a very good thing, especially when companies are trying to decide, can we actually profit from this or should we not waste our time? Which is exactly what happens with a lot of these manga series. Like they're not so willing to take a chance on a long running series, especially an old series, and just, oh, well, let's print a bunch of runs of the first couple of volumes and see how well they do. Well, number one, people are going to be hesitant anyway because it's happened so often that, they'll try one or two and then they won't do anything with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And also, you never know if people are going to buy older stuff and if people are going to buy more obscure stuff. But, and she was just so self-aggrandizing, like, oh, aren't I great? She was like, well, as a comic professional, I have to say, and I was like, look, I'm a comic professional too, honey. Like, let's not even go there. Don't get condescending with me because you don't have a really clear grasp of what this landscape is like. Like, I understand people, not wanting their hard work to go for nothing, but like, seriously, a lot of these companies and a lot of these authors, for that matter, it's only important to them at the moment how things are doing in Japan. Most of the time, they are not going to, keep doing a series that is not making a good profit in Japan. It doesn't really matter about elsewhere unless it's a significant profit. And a lot of them still don't, they still have that very insular thinking that Japan is the only country where this matters. And it's the same with a lot of countries. I mean, you look at a lot of American stuff. It's the same way. They don't really care about if it's profitable abroad. But I mean, sometimes they do. Sometimes they keep doing stuff that's profitable elsewhere. But there's a lot of countries have very insular ways of thinking about, it doesn't matter. And usually by the time they do bring it to another country, it's made what it's going to make.
Mm-hmm.
And the creator's moved on to something else, or or it's completed, whatever, So, I mean, I don't know. It's a very different landscape though than it once was, because they've still got stuff that's still going now, and just, people are scrambling to bring it over because it's popular now and it sells now. But I think being very hostile to scans and Scanlations is a mistake, because there are a lot of asshole groups out there, but most of them, their heart is in the right place, more or less, because they love it and they want more people to love it so that it can be popular, it can be a success. And most of them also have a rule, like if it gets licensed, we take down our scans.
Yeah. Which I've always been a supporter of, because I'm poor and I can't really afford to go and buy, the legal copies.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that, if it does get licensed, then you pull it. All the free stuff that is available, off the internet. Because, piracy is one of the reasons why, it's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why all this shit is super expensive.
Honestly, I don't buy that. I bought it for a while, but to be quite honest, I think that, especially in something like manga or anime, especially in the case of something that you can't find in every store, like you can't generally go out to a store and be guaranteed that you're going to find this title and be able to, thumb through it in a bookshop. I really don't think that this is made, I know there are a lot of people that have a feeling of entitlement, like, oh, why should I pay for this? But I do think in at least the manga and anime arena, it may well be the reason why some other things are more expensive, but in the manga and anime arena, they were taking you to the fucking cleaners for years. And it would be like, and their stuff in Japan is still ridiculously expensive, and I'm not even going to get onto that, but I think the importance of being able to see this stuff online or whatever, and it's great that now it's gotten to the point where, there's sites like Crunchyroll and stuff, and if you have the bandwidth and are able to see it, you can preview a lot of stuff instead of having to just, pay $30 for a DVD of 2 episodes, and, because it used to be that, of course it used to be VHS, and you'd have to scramble to find anything that was subtitled and not dubbed, or if you wanted the dub, you'd have to try and find that.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. I bought, just to quickly off topic, I bought Pet Shop of Horrors and they came in 2 VHSs. One was subtitled and one wasn't. And I was just like, well, fuck it, I have them. I can watch them.
Yeah, it was, and I know that a lot of the people listening, and especially the younger audiences, are going to be like,
what's a VHS?
Mind blown. Yeah, what's a VHS? I can't believe they didn't have both languages. Oh my god. But yeah, but and to say nothing of the 80s, where you would really have, you would have to know a fan subber to get stuff that wasn't dubbed and usually was edited to make a completely different program. Because they wouldn't bring it over. Yeah, exactly. But actually,
I like Voltron. I also like Go Lion, which I need the last DVD box set for Go Lion.
Oh, you totally don't need it. The ending is, oh my god, that is such a clusterfuck of an ending.
I know what the ending is.
I still
want it. I still want the rest of the show because I'm a huge fan.
I know. Well, I actually liked Voltron way more than Go Lion. I don't know. That, some of the episodes are goofy as shit, but
it was a giant robot show.
Yeah, really. But I either way, agree or disagree about the price point. I think it is really important for people to have the ability to preview this stuff before committing, because
I'm not saying pirates are the whole reason. I'm just and they're not as big of a problem as they're probably made out to be. I'm just saying they can be. It can be an issue.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't deny that at all. I think it especially affects more obscure titles and smaller titles and also smaller producers, for example, independent producers and things like that don't have a multi-million-dollar marketing department, to push their stuff and to get it out there. I think that can be a huge problem. But I think that on the whole, a lot of these companies looked to things that weren't so much a problem, and it's taken so long because of that to get anywhere where you can actually legitimately go and preview something online and look at something before making the commitment to say, yeah, I'm going to buy 4 books of this, each priced at $12 a piece, or I'm going to buy a DVD set of this, which is like $100 or something.
Yeah.
I remember, I remember back in the day where like you could get maybe half of a series run, and it would set you back like $200, and it was just like 3 or 4 DVDs.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. Like, it's no wonder that a lot of people go to the secondhand market, or they, they'll just wait until they can download and look at least some of the episodes and see if they really like this or not.
Yeah.
'Cause,
or the companies will box it in a way where you think you're getting the whole series, but instead you're just getting a cool looking box to put your DVDs in.
yes.
And you're just getting the first volume and then maybe an accessory or 2. I hate you, Hellsing! Die, Hellspawn!
Yeah.
I paid $50 for that shit because I thought it was the whole damn series. And I'm like, at that time, $50 for the whole series, for a whole series is what you expected to pay.
Yeah. Yeah, especially a series that's a short run series. It's not like a 52 episode series,
Yeah.
you would think that would be a reasonable price to pay for a DVD set or something of a short 12 or 13 episode series, but yeah. Yeah, I was not very happy with that trend either when it started to be like, yeah, buy the first volume of the DVD and pay like 2 or 3 times as much as you really should be
because
to
you
get a
get a
collectible
nice box
and an extra.
And
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that. I was just like, oh, well, it must be the whole series. It's $50 and, it's a box set, it says. But no, it's just like the first DVD and then the box. And then like a fake blood pack. And that's all I got.
It's a set with a box and a DVD. In that sense, it is a box set, but in no other real sense. But,
I was pissed. And then I actually got the other DVDs, but they were super expensive. And there's just like 4 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's bullcrap. And then, of course, a hell of a time trying to find Higurashi, because that's out of print.
Yeah, and that's another thing. There is so much of it just goes in and out of print so quickly, and you cannot be guaranteed to get it, especially when it's like a whole series. This is why people so often wait and don't buy it until it's complete.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand that, especially with manga though. I know so many people that just wait now because they've had such a hell of a time. You'll get these series that these publishers will start, and then they'll be like, oh well, we're only going to publish like a quarter of the series, and the rest of it just, fuck you. Yeah, that's great. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
Nobody's buying it. Nobody cares.
Yeah,
nobody will miss it.
I love having 3 volumes of like a 10-volume series in one language.
Yeah.
That's delightful. To be fair,
Yami no Matsue!
To be fair, I mean, some of them have stuck with it, but yeah, I mean, you can see why people are not quite so, vehemently against Scanlations as some people may be. I think this woman just was not really informed, and she wanted to try and make it be.
I would say she's probably more in line with the old style of how things are done, rather than she's probably just not up to date with how things are.
And I think a lot of these people just want to jump on the bandwagon to try and look good. Like, they don't really think about their position in something. They just think, okay, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be one of those people that people go, like, right on, Bologna, like.
Well, I mean, that would be nice, but if somebody disagreed with me, well, they're welcome to disagree.
Yeah, but it became very, very clear very quickly that, like, she didn't really have a lot of substance behind this position. She was just really saying it in the expectation that everybody was going to give her that, you go girl pat on the back.
Well, I don't know. From what I've seen, you had your opinion, she had hers, and neither of you were willing to budge.
That, and she was really being kind of an asshole, not only to the follower that tweeted her, but also to me and everybody else that chimed in. It was just
I didn't really, investigate. I just had a quick look and like, okay, and, I left.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't gonna keep going with it. I have learned to use the block functionality because, life's too short for that kind of shit. This isn't elementary school anymore. The highlight of my day is not going to be getting in an argument with somebody who clearly isn't informed in this topic and is just going to try and make it a big, mudslinging competition. I'm not going to do that. That's just stupid. But I thought it was important to talk about Scanlations a bit and scans and getting stuff, looking at stuff before you buy it, because I think some of our generation, especially since we lived through the big manga and anime boom, the Japan boom at the turn of the century, it makes us sound so old. I think a lot of people that grew up around that environment became very cautious about any of their spending on stuff that they couldn't look at first. If you could not get a good idea of what it was, and of course,
a lot of times before this day and age, you didn't know. You couldn't get previews or an example. You just had to buy and hope it turned out good.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's real, I really like it, as you said, now we can, preview and stuff and be like, this is something I feel like investing in, so I'll go pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and as someone who provides a lot of my stuff for free online, to give people the opportunity to say, hey, I like this, I'm going to support this, and I'm glad we've got things like Patreon and stuff like that and ways that we can, give people a product if they send us, the payment for it and whatnot. But I really think that trying to make it all about, I think artists should be paid for their work. That's not really what I'm talking about with Scanlations. It's not really what anybody's talking about. That was completely turning the dialogue into something utterly different, and it was being hostile and aggressive about something that the conversation was not even about, in a sort of self-aggrandizing way. And I really don't like that. I think it's much more important to look at what is going on and what is actually being discussed, instead of, trying to make it about making a point and taking a stand for something that really wasn't in question in the first place. And that's really why I had a problem with it and why I really wanted to talk about it, because we have so much technology at our hands, we've made so many advances, just like you said, we can preview shit now.
Yeah,
we can
thankfully.
we can actually look at shit that we might spend $30 on. And I know some people say, it's just $30. Well,
Actually, I'd rather have my $30. That pays for my internet and buys me some stuff I need for the kitchen.
Yeah, really. I think a lot of people that go, it's just $30, don't bitch about buying a DVD and then finding
Okay, look, if you are made of money.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, $30 is probably nothing to you. It's probably tissue paper. For me, it puts food in my fridge and keeps me in my house. Yeah, apartment.
$30 is not that inconsequential. I think honestly, if you think that spending $30 on a DVD that you don't know if you like or hate is okay, then maybe you've never really had
If I'm spending at least $30 on something I don't know if I like or not, it better be like a full season or series of something.
Yeah, that I cannot help but think that the people that are very dismissive about, have a clear idea going in, probably are not that, maybe they're not maybe they don't have any expenses or anything. Maybe they've never had to manage their money or anything like that. But like, trust me, someday $30 will seem like a lot.
Yeah.
Like I know, like when I was very young, $30 seemed like a lot. And then for a while, $30 didn't seem like so much. And then $30 seemed like a lot again. So, I mean, it will happen again. It will happen again. Sooner or later, 99% of you will probably be like, yeah, $30 seems like a lot now.
I have more important things to do. $30, then waste them on a DVD.
Yeah, especially if it's a gamble.
Yeah.
You know, like if it's something I don't even know enough about to make a judgment call, like I like this or I don't like this. I just don't know if I can do that anymore. I don't really feel comfortable doing that anymore. But anyway, so Scanlations.
Yay!